Whenever you encounter a very talented person, do you tend to attribute their talent to their genes or their surroundings? This is the nature-nurture discussion. Which one is more true, you think? Or is it something else? When it comes to developing skills and talent, we have more control than we often believe. And in the book The Talent Code, I learned that everyone can develop a talent with the right mix of practice, motivation, and coaching. Practice is the most important factor of all. This is the same as doing the work, which I talk about pretty often. Practice is also the little trick of the monks, they say. But actually, it is not a trick at all. It is just doing it until you not fail anymore. But when you think it is a trick, you have more motivation for it. Whenever you practice something, nerves are fired through a circuit in your brain, and even the skill required to perform the simplest action demands thousands of nerves firing in perfect synchrony. As those nerves are fired, the myelin layers around the nerve grow. That's because myelin is a living tissue and much like a muscle which needs to be exercised regularly for it to grow. And the layer of myelin around the circuit only thickens when the nerve fibers it surrounds are fired regularly. And the thicker the myelin, the faster and more precise the impulse. So myelin is the substance that increases your ability, which is built by practice. However, simply repeating a task isn't enough to stimulate nerve firing. So what kind of practice leads to myelin growth? The key is to make mistakes and then correct them. It's this very process of making mistakes and correcting them that leads to improving a particular skill. That's why it's crucial to practice beyond the limits of our current abilities, even though you are doing it wrong for a long time. So, rule number 1 is, genes mean nothing, practice is everything. The point here is that you make mistakes and learn from them, so that you can improve. It is all very logical, and that is true for almost everything. It is common sense, but not common practice. Remember that phrase, because the more you learn, the more you will see how much we already know, but how little we do with it. And that's very sad, really. So, it's not enough to practice at your current level. You need to challenge yourself every day. And this kind of focused repetition is what the author calls deep practice. Deep practice is the practice you need to do to become better. And this is really the same as flow state from the book Peak Performance, practicing in the zone from the book Relentless, but also the same as deep work and also the intense focus from the book Mastery of Robert Greene. And of course, deliberate practice of the book Outliers. I think you get the point. And I'm leaving another 20 books out that I know on this topic, and probably there are a lot more that I don't know, so you can see the importance of this concept. And it states that it isn't really magic or born gifts that make us great. It is just really deep practice to become better and better. And multiply that with time and you will become a talent. So rule number 2 is, normal practice isn't enough. Deep practice is the key. While we might believe that a person's talent must have stemmed from their innate interest in their skill early on in life, usually their initial motivation to acquire that skill was triggered by some external force. As we've seen, to become skilled at something, we need to engage in deep practice, because this practice is very difficult and it requires us to be extremely motivated to improve. And one such motivator is ignition. An external cue that triggers our desire to become skilled at something and convinces us that it is possible to achieve if we work hard for it. And this is most of the time in the form of a coach or a mentor. And these masterful people will help you to become talented. You have 2 types of coaches. And the first one is the coach that is less talented but can get you extremely motivated. And this is the type of person you need in the beginning of the process. And the other type of mentor you need is the one that is master in his craft. He can teach you the practical steps and perfect ways to master every skill that you need. But this ignition can also come from within. The internal drive, or the burning desire, is this often called. And this is what most talented people possess. You can say this is a born advantage. Talented people are most of the time equal to driven people. It correlates with each other. So you could say that a talent is a little bit of born qualities. And as a child, you have personal preference that makes you do what you want to do. And through practice, you become better. And these are the things we call most of the time our strengths. Also, these skills aren't born. The only thing that you can argue that is born are the things you like to do. Although this can be influenced pretty strongly by your surroundings. Talent is also a bit of your surroundings. Your environment plays a bigger role in your quest for talent than your genes. Society and peers tell you exactly what is fun to do and what is worth pursuing. But you need to find it out for yourself. You need to find yourself here, as far as you can find it. Because we can be convinced of the fact that it is our own unique preference, while we don't know how much we are influenced. So, rule number 3 is let your surroundings stimulate your talent. There is no reason to do it alone. To summarize, genes mean nothing, practice is everything. Normal practice isn't enough. Deep practice is the key, and let your surroundings stimulate your talent. Share this with your friends if you found it helpful, or give a comment below with some feedback. And thank you for watching, and as always, get your ass